Wait, a new Pokemon game with new Mega Evolutions? Oh, I can't wait to see what they—
No! God, please, no! No! No!
Hi everyone, I'm Pedro Luferson and today we are redesigning more Mega Evolutions from Pokémon Legends EA. The design of some of the new Megas have been a bit divisive to say the least. I've made a video redesigning Mega Dragonite a couple weeks ago, you should check it out. But then more Megas started coming out and then flat out leaked. So a flood of Megas invaded the internet alongside with some criticism. Aside from Mega Delphox and Mega Barbaracle, which are honestly my favorite Megas from this new game so far, in my opinion the rest was either okay or just straight up bad and lazy designs. To be clear, if you do like the original designs, that's great, good for you. I'm not here to spread any hate. I'm just here to share my own opinion and you are obviously completely free to disagree. In this video, I'm going to redesign 5 of the new Megas. For some of them, I might use the same lore as the original ones, but for others, I might just create my own thing to align more with my design ideas. Also, there are more Megas that I want and will redesign, so subscribe to see when I post a new video. The first Mega I'm going to redesign is probably one of the worst Pokemon designs that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, we're talking about Mega Starmie. And before anyone runs to the comments and say that this Mega actually makes sense according to the lore of the whole Ultraman thing, I'm just gonna say, no lore excuses a bad design. I'm not saying that the Starmie's origin is bad, I'm saying that the design execution is bad. The lore could be the most unhinged, weird and random thing. There are 1,000 ways to use whatever the origin lore is. But they decided to pick the laziest and most uncreative way to execute an idea. Does it make sense when compared to the Pokemon's origin? Maybe, but there are infinite ways to make a Mega with the exact same inspiration and they would all look better than this. Again, it's not about the lore or the inspiration behind it, it is about the execution, and that execution is just bad. That being said, let's get to my version. For my Mega Starmie, I decided to not do anything with Ultraman, but instead go to the other side of Starmie's lore. As many Pokédex entries insinuate, Starmie came from outer space. So the match was set, a starfish Pokemon that came from outer space and receives an immense amount of power from Mega Evolution now can use its new form to actually go to space. And if it's not clear enough, my Mega Starmie is going to be inspired by shooting stars. Now instead of just looking at the night sky longing for the stars, it can join them. One of the challenges I have faced was how much I want their appearance to change in comparison to the original Pokemon. Not change too little, because you know what happens, but not change it too much to the point that the Pokemon looks almost unrelated to the original. So I decided to keep the general shape of Starmie's body and mostly focus on the new shooting star tail, which I actually took inspiration from Cosmog's ears, and by that I mean this nebula cloudy thing with stars floating on the inside. I also decided to change the color of its gem to align more with this bisexual tail. And I also sort of clipped the tip of its arm, so now the tips are like floating and glowing. To make the overall shape more interesting and to make it look kind of more cosmic in a way, I also believe that its types would change. Now that it is no longer trapped by gravity, it loses its water type and becomes psychic flying. Overall, I really liked my version of Mega Starmie. I obviously believe that it's better than the original one, but let's be honest, that's a very low bar. For the shiny version, yes, every Pokemon on this video will have its shiny version. Since Starmie is not a star, I turned it basically into a yellow sun. I think the original purple palette suits the cosmic theme better, but having a flying gold star doesn't sound bad. Moving on to the next Mega on this list, we have the other alien from Kanto, Mega Clefable. To be clear, my feelings towards Mega Clefable aren't nearly as strong as my feelings towards Mega Starmie. I don't think it's terrible, but it's just meh. It feels just like a generic fairy type that looks like, well, a fairy? Not a lot happening besides large and colorful wings and whatever it has going on with his head and ears that don't really do anything. I looked up the inspirations behind the new Mega and apparently it is as deep as I just said. So with my Mega Clefable, since it's literally from the moon according to many Pokédex entries, I decided to make it look like a cartoonish fairy astronaut. Its curly hair is now much longer and wrapping around its head and limbs to make it look cuter and resemble the suit of an astronaut. It has a moon-shaped circle on its belly to make light signals to contact its friends from far away, much like Staryu and Starmie would do, almost like a Morse code situation. I like the idea of multicolor wings, so I kept it from the original, but I felt like something was missing. So I made Clefable have two tails instead of just one, so when you look at it, it has a more of a classic fairy butterfly look. Another thing that was in my mind while I was making this drawing was the pose. I wanted to make it in a way that it felt like it was walking somewhere with low gravity, like the moon, even though it can fly now. I also covered it with sparkles because in the anime the first time we see Clefable, it's when a bunch of Clefairies just evolved after dancing around a moonstone and get covered by its sparkly dust. And also because of stars and the fairy type, nothing too deep. At the end, I see that it is not so drastically different from the original as much as my Mega Starmie, but I still like how it turned out. I never had a big connection with Clefable or its pre-evolution, so it was fun to make something with a Pokemon I don't usually pay attention. But let me tell you about the shiny version I made. Since my Mega Clefable is more fairy looking, for the shiny version I decided to go full astronaut. Now with pale skin to look more like an astronaut suit, a dark starry sky on its wings and a blood moon on its belly. I'm so proud of this shiny, it's my favorite of this video. Just look at it, it's so cool. Before going to the next Mega of this video, please subscribe, it would make me very happy. And you won't miss out on new videos I'll be posting. The next Mega I'm going to be redesigning is Mega Victreebel. I was not happy when this Mega came out. I wasn't just unhappy, I was angry. I had a worse reaction when I saw this than when I saw Mega Starmie because I still had a bit of hope. But when I saw Victreebel, but larger, I lost it. The idea of Mega Victreebel being so full of poison that it needs to wrap its whip around its neck or it will puke gallons of it, it's simple. And simple doesn't mean bad. Many Megas have simple design choices behind them and they look great. Mega Slowbro and Mega Sableye for example. But Mega Victreebel uses this idea and executes it in a way that makes it look goofy, but not in a good way. Going back to Mega Slowbro, its goofiness matches the original Pokemon and in my opinion it still manages to look cool and creative in its simplicity. But Victreebel, which is a mean looking carnivorous plant that will dissolve you in its mouth instead of intimidating, now looks like a water balloon. Again, there are so many ways to create something cool with the original premise, but they just decided not to. For my Mega Victreebel, I went with the exact same lore as the original, just full of poison, but I went for something less goofy and more insidious. I chose not to make its body as big as the original one in comparison to its parts. The original one has a huge gut highlighted by its small head, tiny leaves and super tight knot, creating a lot of contrast with the shapes and reinforcing the idea of being extra full. For what they aimed for, it totally works. They wanted it goofy looking and they accomplished that. But since that is not what I want for my design, I toned down the size contrast between its parts and focused on the details to make it look more evil. I gave it thorns at the tip of each leaf to make it look more aggressive and especially with the leaf above its mouth to make it look like teeth. Gave it an evil look to match its upside down smile and poison dripping from it. Just as a tip of why it's so much bigger now in comparison to regular Victreebel. The vines around its neck are more disorganized to look more chaotic and they are now pointier and threatening, almost mimicking the tail of a scorpion. Last but not least, at the end I went for a different color palette. Because if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the original colors are a bit boring. So I took inspiration from the actual picture plant, which very commonly have deep red and orange leaves. I like how it turned out, but I admit that wasn't easy to do something too far from the original given the simplicity of the lore, but I believe it fits the vibe of the original Victreebel more than the Mega. Shiny Mega Victreebel now was a bit tricky. My version already looks a little like a shiny Pokemon given I changed the colors quite a bit. So I went to the original shiny Victreebel and basically made all the yellow this radioactive green and everything else this deep blue. Not a lot of inspiration, but the final result looks good. For the penultimate Mega evolution of this video, we are redesigning Mega Meganium. Chikorita is actually my favorite Gen 2 starter and Bayleaf is my favorite of the line as a whole, so I was pretty curious to see what they were going to do with it. I was honestly disappointed that we didn't get any new original forms like in Legends Arceus. Since Meganium's design is a bit boring, but I had a little hope for a nice Mega evolution. It gaining the fairy type is super cool, but it's just flower times 4. And I'm just gonna say that I think this next Mega redesign is my favorite from this whole video. I feel like often grass type Pokemon have a lot of design potential given the nature of plants and how they can change radically as they grow. The Chikorita line for example revolves around the cycle of a sprout maturing into a flower. And as I mentioned before, I really like Bayleaf, so I decided to get some inspiration from it. Specifically the more energetic and fun aspect of the design, but still a little fearsome. Meganium has 2 stamens on its head to emphasize the flower aspect of its design. So I had this idea of using the stamens in my design, but much more exaggerated. Just regular stamens, but cooler. Then this random realization came to me. I don't know if it came from Hydreigon, Hydrapple, or maybe the Mind Flayer, but I fell in love with the idea of multiple heads. So there it was, a Meganium with 2 extra fake heads that are actually 2 giant stamens. Plus its petals now look a bit like the skin of a frilled neck lizard, adding more elements to associate with dinosaurs. Meganium is based on sauropods, those dinosaurs with really long necks, which in and on itself is already a pretty cool source of inspiration. So I decided to go for a more dinosaur look with a longer tail and a more intimidating pose, but still with a silly smile. I am really happy with this mega. I really liked the initial concept, and if I may say it about my own drawing, it looks very cool. The color palette helps a lot. I think the red of the petals and the green of its skin go really well together and make it feel friendly and cozy. I would keep the fairy type, even though you could make the argument that it looks more like a dragon since it's not as cute and, well, it looks a lot like a hideous Zippleback. But I'm on the team that fairy type Pokemon should be allowed to look more scary and not just fluffy adorable babies. Now for the shiny version. There's this meme going around that shiny Mega Meganium has the color of the lesbian flag. Then I thought, that's cool, but what if I made it even more lesbian? And this is my lesbian shiny Mega Meganium, and I really like it. The colors gave it an autumn vibe, and the pink and the orange go really well together. Now for the last Mega Evolution of this video, Mega Feraligator. To be clear, I think Totodile is adorable, but I was never a big fan of its line as a whole. I think they are okay, and that's it. Then the Mega came around, and the little respect I had for Feraligator wasn't able to save it, not even a little bit. Similar to what they did with Mega Victreebel, they turned a fearsome looking Pokemon into something silly in a way that doesn't align with the previous form. But at least Mega Victreebel's concept wasn't bad, but a hoodie that turns Feraligator into a giant Totodile again is a bad idea. It sounds like a bad idea from just a sentence, and the execution shows it. And to be fair, I struggled to come up with an idea for my version of Mega Feraligator. So I went for something similar to the original idea and focused on the red thorns and scale it has on its body. I basically turned the red scales into an armor that can be used more offensively than defensively. It now has a cool helmet, giant sharp gloves, and my favorite little detail is the fishtail it now has. It might not make a lot of sense to give a fishtail to a reptile, but I think it looks very cool. It got the dragon type upon mega evolving, and often the solution to make a dragon type Pokemon is to give it a lot of pointy edges to show how ferocious and wild they are. That is what happened to many Mega Evolutions. And in a character design perspective, having more sharp edges like fangs and claws can make them look stronger and more fearsome. On the other hand, soft and round shapes make a character look more delicate and friendly. To be honest, I think my Mega Feraligator looks okay. Nothing extraordinary or as full as inspiration as other Pokemon in this video. But considering the original Mega and the fact that I was for sure going to redesign Mega Meganium, it felt wrong to not do the same with the other Johto starter. For this shiny, I went with the colors of the original, because I think they look good even though they are not that different from the original palette. And these are all the Megas I redesigned. Overall, this was a really fun video to make. I love Pokemon, and with this channel I now have a place to create this kind of content for more people to see. Again, if you like the original Megas just the way they are, cool. Let's all respect each other's opinions, okay? I don't know when I'm gonna make the next redesigning Mega Evolutions video because I have many other content ideas to prioritize, so you should subscribe to see when the next Pokemon video comes out. I love talking about Pokemon, so it will inevitably happen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And that's it for today. Bye! Something that I only found out after having the idea for Mega Meganium is that stamens are a very distinct part of plants' reproductive system. You can Google it. So technically, my Mega Meganium has 2 giant private parts on each side of its neck. You can do what you want with this information.